Thank you, Afroz. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Shakil Sahab, Gopal Sahab, my friends in the audience, and my very close friend from Aligarh, Afroz Supervisor, Professor Asmar Bey, my colleague from KIT and NLU Cuttack, Yogesh is here. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk of two issues because your topic was contemporary challenges. One is an old challenge, but we have not found an answer to this, and the other is a new challenge. It was there sometime. Supreme Court also contributed to it. As Afroz says that I have to find some law in it, though there was no session on law by the way. In your sessions you missed law as a separate session, and electoral laws is a well-defined field within the legal curriculum. Of course, law schools don't have it as a full-fledged course. So when we are talking of elections, we are talking of democracy. So if you are not a democracy, then the question of election does not arise. And therefore you need to know what is democracy. So democracy, in my opinion, is government by choice. And how do we make choice? There may be debates whether we have a truly representative government in the current system, as my predecessor, very eminent one, was highlighting. But we have to make a choice. And believe me, none of us, including the educated class, maybe when Afroz has to write some article after an election, or Asmar Bey has to do some research, these two people will read the manifesto of all political parties, but till date I have not read in any election manifesto of even 3 parties. And you have as many as 7 national parties and many regional parties. So we don't read election manifesto. So we make choices on the basis of what leaders tell us in their election speeches. Of course, some are very energetic in terms of their campaign, and some are always on election mode. Others are not that good. And some are gifted in terms of eloquence and power of tongue and satires, and very low level of comments which they can make against their opponents, and we enjoy them. When initially, Yogesh, you taught, you will recall that you also taught law of contract. So as the law stands today, a contract can also be an oral contract under Indian Contract Act 1870. As in evidence, you know, most of the evidence is oral evidence. Even though if you have some documentary CD type evidence, still Allahabad High Court doesn't give much damn to it. That's a altogether different story. So when you make an offer to me, and this you must have again taught, Carlyle versus Carbolic Smoke Ball Company, the general offer. You say, I will do this, I will do this, I will do this. This is an offer. And people vote. And contract can also, acceptance can also be by conduct. So I need not say, I hereby accept this contract. If I vote it, that means I accept it. If this is the contract and you deceive people, then of course it is a fraud. If you look at the contractual definition of fraud, if you tell lies, if you twist facts, if you make impossible promises, and above all, if you take my vote in the name of religion and caste and region. And believe me, ladies and gentlemen, there was, when I went to law school, I studied in Aligarh, then the law was caveat emptor, buyer beware. If you are buying something, you see whether in that good there is any defect or deficiency. When Yogesh went to law school, things changed, because now he said consumer is the king. And therefore now a seller is responsible for supplying deficient goods or deficient services. I believe governance is a very important service. And therefore those who promise maximum governance must deliver it. So why this whole introduction I am giving? That lately I believe the new challenge we have not only to Indian democracy but the democracies world over is lies. People lie. We get carried away by those lies and we vote for them. And the situation is so grim that now we, instead of calling it lie, we call it post-truth. And the Oxford Dictionary said that in 2016, post-truth was the word of the year. You used to have word of this prize of a year, so now you have a word of a year. And why it was word of a year? Because it was very extensively used in 2016. And in this post-truth, this prefix post does not mean after the truth is known. Just like the post-war, after war. No, it is not. You have to totally disregard the truth. वो सब सत्यमेव जयते वेते का जमाना खत्म हो गया. And therefore, you will talk nonsense. Say like you will say, if you are in England, that's why I said that it should not be only, I am not talking of India alone. It's a global trend. So we will say, if we are in England, oh, every week, England is losing 300 million pounds because of the membership of European Union. And you will have a vote and you will have an exit. A very unfortunate one. Or Trump telling us Obama is the founder of Islamic State and Hillary Clinton is the co-founder. And people will believe it. And if you try to tell the facts, you will be ridiculed. So if you are in the queue after demonetization and you say, बड़ी तकलीफ हो रही है, पैसा नहीं है, cash नहीं है, somebody will get angry and say, border पे soldiers मर रहे हैं, आपको line में खड़े होने में तकलीफ. So we twist facts. We are not on facts. And then we lie so much. There is an organization called Political Fact which calculated that 15% of all statements made by Donald Trump are true or mostly true. And 85% of them are half truth or false. And there are many other leaders who can be compared with this statistics if you apply this test. Therefore, if there is any problem, UPA is responsible. Nirav Modi was born when Congress Prime Minister was. He is responsible. Somebody yesterday was telling me in Delhi that how come a convicted person got a visa and was in Trudeau's delegation. Congress is responsible. When Trudeau was born, Nehru was the Prime Minister. I checked it and wrote back, no, Indira was there, so not the father but daughter is definitely responsible. Therefore, we are having in number of countries in the world what Steve Teschis will call government of lies. So we will lie about everything, be it Watergate, Ronald Reagan, for instance, selling arms to Iran of all the countries when there was an armed embargo against Iran. And then people also think that truth is a bad news. So Americans first said, we don't want to hear anything about hard truths about Vietnam War. And therefore people are not interested in truth. And as a result, Arfa was here, Wire, Karma, and scroll. These are not the things we want to read, these websites. We are happy with Times Now, Republic and Z. Now my problem as a student of law is that our election commission, Yaqub Bhai was here, and our Supreme Court, who could have tried to control this new found excessive use of lies in election, did not do anything. Has now preferred to be a puppet. And Supreme Court, Yogesh must be aware of this case, they said electoral promise does not bind the candidate. तो बोलते election. And therefore why criticize Amit Shah when he says भाई जुमला था वो 15 लाख. तो Supreme Court भी कह चुकी है ना. You have to create a duty on a candidate who promises something that if you do not deliver as per your promise after winning election, there will be legal consequences. Unless those consequences are there, we will promise moon. And therefore I believe currently the major challenge to all democracies, including India, is this excessive use of lies in elections. The other is religion, which again was not there, just like law in your sub-themes of the sessions. So I will connect this religion with the lies, since I am saying lying is the major issue. So Yogi Adityanath is on record to have said secularism is the greatest lie of independent India. कहा था ना? Yes. I have to write Defender of Faith article in Indian Express. तो आपने देखा? Secularism is the biggest lie. And then we say, as I said, court is guilty. The court said you can't reconstruct mosque in Gujarat because we are a secular country. And Article 27 says that proceeds of any tax will not be used for any religious purposes. Even though these mosques were destroyed, as many as about 165 or so during riot, and it was a duty of the state to maintain law and order, and the state did not maintain law and order, and therefore the state should restore these mosques. So Supreme Court said no, this will not be done because we are a secular country. Government abolish Hajj subsidy, saying we are empowering minority by removing their so-called appeasement. Just 3 months back, same Yogi Adityanath who was saying secularism is the biggest lie, and for a change I agreed. I wrote, yes, you are right. 165 crore was spent, state government's money, on the celebration of Diwali, Lord Rama returning to Ayodhya. 1 lakh subsidy for those who go to Mansarovar in the budget. And this is the state of affairs in number of states. I had written one full article on how much Indian state spends on religion. I have not confirmed, but I read it in somewhere, so I have to see, somebody should check, that the BJP's manifesto in Nagaland also promises subsidy for a trip to Jerusalem. If you are going to Church of Nativity and you want to go to the birthplace of Jesus, there will be subsidy. So Supreme Court is a party, but this excessive use of religion in elections to polarize electoral polity is a challenge. And how do we get out of it? And Pakistan is fast catching up. So in India, these Shankaracharyas, Imams and others are having peers and faqir and mashayikhs having role and issuing fatwas. Imran Khan not making much dent has now finally landed in the lap of a Peer Menka. So in a secular country where state has to be religious neutral, how come religion continues to play such a vital role in our body politic and in our elections? Why Rajiv Gandhi has to start his 1989 election campaign from Ayodhya promising Ram Raj? Why political leaders had to go to Imam Bukhari? He had some influence at that time. No, that influence is there. No Muslim will give vote on the basis of any fatwa anymore. Prime Minister day before, you can see in Times of India and Hindu pictures with half-naked Hindu mahants and sons. Karnataka. Rahul Gandhi had to visit number of temples, and then Surjewala added a new dimension. He was only saying that I am a Shiv Bhakt. But Surjewala said, no, he is a Janevdhari, which he will find it even difficult to prove if somebody challenges him. Don't you remember in 2014, the slogan itself had a religious color. Har Har Modi, Ghar Ghar Modi. It is a religious slogan. The Shankaracharya took up the matter with Mohan Bhagwat, and then eventually Modi ji himself came in and he said, some over-enthusiastic supporters have done it, don't do it. But you will remember that leaders within BJP, Manohar Parrikar for example, he addressing the Goa assembly said, Modi is God. And Harshvardhan in Delhi said, very interestingly, even God cannot defeat Modi. You have such contradictions. My problem is how this religious color to a worldly contest. And if Kim Suk-nak's suggestion is accepted, then you will have many more seats. Nehru didn't need religion because he was a tall leader, he was an agnostic, he himself considered organized religion filled with horror. And therefore, during his regime, you did not see that frequent and prominent role of religion in elections. But Nehru also did commit a mistake. Why even for a leader of Maulana Azad's stature, you have to search a Muslim constituency? And therefore there were mistakes committed during Nehru regime as well. Now, how Supreme Court has reacted to all this? You remember that famous Shiv Sena case where Shiv Sena said if Shiv Sena is voted to power, it will be the first Hindu state in the country. And this was challenged. And the Supreme Court said, no, Hindutva is not a religion, and therefore appeal based in the name of Hindutva is not a correct electoral practice under the Representation of People's Act, to which Nag was making a reference. And that judgment was picked up by BJP as endorsement by the Supreme Court of its use of religion in elections and gave legitimacy to their political ideology. And there was no return from that day. 2017, January, again a similar judgment came from the Supreme Court on the last day of Justice T.S. Thakur. A split verdict. As split as this close. a 7-bench judgment. The question was, what is the meaning of word his? If vote is asked in the name of religion, only when the candidate asks it, then it will be the correct electoral practice, or when his agent asks it or any other person asks it, it will be correct electoral practice. Justice Goel, who was in news yesterday about the land acquisition matter, just as U.R. Lalit and Dhananjay Chandrachud, they dissented. And they said it should be given a narrow interpretation. All BJP-ruled state governments also said it should be given narrow interpretation. What were they asking? Only when candidate makes an appeal in the name of religion, it will be treated as correct electoral practice. So if I am a candidate, I will never do it. Afroz, Asma, Yogesh, they can do it on my way. Fortunately, the majority of the Supreme Court did not accept it. And they said, since this amendment came in simultaneously with an amendment in Indian Penal Code 53A, that we want to exclude appeal in the name of religion or create hatred in the name of religion. Therefore, a wider purposive interpretation is to be given to word his, and it will include appeal by anybody. If you are a beneficiary of their appeal, then your election is to be somewhat declared void. But I believe the court did not take the logical step. The most logical step which Supreme Court should immediately take is to revisit this Hindutva judgment, which is against the precedents, which is against the larger bench judgment of S.R. Bommai, and which is destroying our electoral process. Religions are a private thing. Whether you believe in religion, you don't believe in religion, you want to pray 5 times or 500 times in a day, you want to fast it. When the Prime Minister fasted on Shivratri, on all prime time channels we were showing it, he was going for a foreign trip. His fasting on a Navratri is a personal thing. I will end with Nehru. When Rajendra Prasad wanted to visit a temple as a president, the Prime Minister did not like it. You may go privately, but public officials should not be using religion for electoral purposes. And people should not be voting in the name of religion or in the name of caste or in the name of region. I believe both Election Commission as well as Supreme Court have failed in controlling misuse or use or overuse of religion in elections, and this has been going on from the very beginning, and the new challenge is this falsehood and lies. Thank you very much.